Here are some of the best cars in GTA Online as of 2025. Whether you want speed, armor, or even just the missile lock on jammer, or all three of them combined, this video will highlight pretty much all of these ones. I will also be breaking this video down into 3 different sections. The first section will be the main one. This will be pretty much the best of the best, cars with the most features and most use cases. The section after this will be cars with a really fast speed, but will not offer you as much protection. And the final section will of course be some honourable mentions, which I think could be pretty easily interchanged with some of the other cars in this list. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into the video. So like I've said before, this will be the main section, featuring some of the best meta picks. The first one that we need to cover will be the Italy Stinger TT. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. It can have the HSW upgrades, the missile lock on jammer, and even armor plating. So extremely rich in all of the features it has. The only possible real downside that I think of with the Stinger TT is just how it handles with the HSW upgrades. Even without these upgrades on last gen consoles, this thing can be still quite difficult to control. Overall, I do think these benefits definitely outweigh the disadvantages. So yeah, a great pick if you guys are looking for one of the best meta cars. Following this one on, we do have another car that can have the HSW upgrades alongside the Imani Tech. This will be the EVX, another incredible car. This is also electric, so it can hit really fast top speeds in no time whatsoever. And similar to the Stinger TT, it just has so much upside. If you guys are into electric cars, this is definitely up there with one of my go-to options. Next up, we have the Coquette D5. One of the main reasons this is included in this meta category really comes down to a really nice bug that the D5 can take advantage of, and that is the fact it is completely bulletproof. I don't know how Rockstar let this one slip through the cracks, but this is extremely useful in different setup missions. I love to use this when there is a ton of enemies, and I would genuinely favour this more than the armoured Kuruma, which I think is pretty outdated. Not only is it fully bulletproof as of right now, it also does have the missile lock on jammer, which will make it super frustrating in public sessions in GTA Online. And I have also heard rumours that people are using God mode glitches on this car. As of right now in GTA, I do think this is probably one of the best cars and even vehicles in the entire game. For those of you guys who play with friends frequently, especially in different heist setups, or even just cruising in free mode sessions, this next vehicle will be a really solid pickup. It will be the Omnis EGT. This will be a 4-seater car, and I think it is absolutely phenomenal. I used to overlook this car so many times, but after finally getting around to purchasing this car, I think it is by far one of the best and most useful ones. It can have the Imani Tech with the armor plating and missile lock on jammer. It is another electric car, and the only shortfall of this car will be not having HSW upgrades. However, it does not need it. It is electric, so you can hit top speeds really quickly, and with that explosive resistance and missile lock on jammer included, and the bonus of it being a 4-seater car, I think this is easily in the meta conversations. Another extremely useful car is the Buffalo STX. The STX, just like many of the other cars we have already gone through, has all of these features like the Imani Tech, missile lock on jammer, and even a really competitive top speed. But alongside this, it can also have some bulletproof windows. It is worth mentioning these windows will not be completely bulletproof, and they are more bullet resistant, but even still, this can save you so many times, especially in those gritty situations. A car that lacks a lot of the features that the previous other cars do already have will be the Toreador. However, the Toreador is very unique because it will also double as a submarine. It has a boost feature as well, making this extremely fast and arguably one of the most fun vehicles in the entire game. The Toreador also has some of the best missiles in the entire game as well, and for the most part, when you lock onto anything, 9 times out of 10 you are always hitting the target. On top of all of these features, it can be stored inside the Kasatka, which will make it an even better pickup for any of you late game players. This next car is kind of obvious, but this will be the Virtue. A lot of people in GTA Online pretty much swear by this, and there is a really good reason for that. First of all, it is essentially a free car if you complete the first and last dose missions. It will be completely electric, so you can take advantage of that really extreme acceleration. It has the armor plating and missile lock on jammer, and it also looks incredibly clean. If you have the time and patience to play through the first and last dose missions to get the Virtue for completely free, it will be very worthwhile, and I think that really sets it apart from all of the other cars. Another solid meta pick will be the Paragon R Armored, and I like to consider this one very similar to the Virtue, in the respect that you need to complete the casino story missions to unlock this car. Unfortunately, this will mean it is not completely free because you will need to have the casino penthouse, but this version of the Paragon is completely stacked with different things. It will obviously have the Imani Tech, it has a pretty respectable top speed, bullet resistant windows, and some of the smoothest handling I have probably seen in most cars. If you already have a casino penthouse and have not completed the story missions, I would definitely suggest that you play through them. It will be 100% worth your time. We are now onto the final pick in the meta category, and this will be two cars. It will be them newer LSCM cars, which will be the Jester RR and the Cheetah Classic. The reason these ones are extremely nice is because they already come included with the missile lock-on jammer, which will mean that you will not have to earn the agency to apply this upgrade. The top speed of both of these cars is still kind of respectable, it's nothing to write home about, and they also do have really limited customization options. However, one of the main standout points to both of these cars will be their traction and how easy they are to drive. If you guys are a relatively new player and still getting the hang of driving, both of these ones will be extremely good options, especially with the fact they already incorporate the missile lock-on jammer. I think that is some insane value. I also love the fact Rockstar made them look different from their standard versions. They sort of look like wide body versions of the car. Altogether, just great choices. At this point, we have covered pretty much all of the meta cars, so now we have the second section of the video where we focus more on performance. I definitely think that most of these performance cars could still be included in the meta category because these ones also have some different Imani Tech options, even some with the HSW upgrades, really making them a lot better. The first car that we have in this section will be the Banshee GTS. I would probably make the case for the Banshee GTS to be pushed inside the meta category. Ever since Rockstar added the Banshee GTS, I have absolutely been loving this. It can have the HSW upgrades and a missile lock-on jammer, and with these HSW upgrades it becomes an absolute beast, and it is currently the fastest HSW car. The only thing that really lets down the Banshee will be no explosive resistance, so if you do manage to get hit by a sticky bomb or a rogue RPG, you are as good as dead. But going at these ridiculous top speeds, if you manage to hit them, you honestly should be good. And for those of you guys without the HSW upgrades, you might be wondering how fast the GTS is, and currently it is faster than the Pariah at roughly around 138 miles per hour, so a great option no matter what you guys play on. One of the best performing cars across GTA Online that we currently have is the Niobe. I could not go through the entirety of this video and not include the Niobe. This honestly might be my most favorite car to drive across the entire game. It can have the HSW upgrades once again like the GTS, and unlike many of the other HSW cars, the Niobe really does feel like a normal car with these things on. But again, just like the GTS, the Niobe is also let down because it will not have any armor resistance to explosives, and it even does not have the missile lock-on jammer. But in terms of performance, this is a really nice go-to choice. Just be very careful using this in full public sessions. For the time being, we are now finished with some of these HSW cars, and I will show you some really nice non-HSW cars that can be used on any console or PC, which are still insanely competitive. The first one that I want to show you will be the Torero XO. This has a really fast top speed for a standard car, and it can also have the missile lock-on jammer. The Torero XO is just a pleasure to drive. If you guys have experienced this yourself, you will already know how good this car is, but again, without any explosive resistance, it will fall short. A car that rivals the Torero XO in my opinion will be the Corsair. This one has a really similar top speed, pretty much neck and neck with each other. However, like the previous three cars, the Corsair is really down bad. It does not have the Imani Tech with the armor plating or even a missile lock-on jammer. Even knowing this, I think it is still a really clean car. This top speed does do it a lot of justice. However, there is a lot of better options. And actually, speaking about better options, we do have the Italy GTO as our next car. The top speed of the GTO is just a little bit slower, but it really makes up for this with its extreme handling. I would personally only purchase the Italy GTO if you guys like to do races. For a non-HSW car, this is definitely up there with some of the best cars you can race in. At long last, in this performance section, we have one of the cars that really just does everything, which in my opinion is also a really good contender for the meta category. This will be the weaponized Ignis. The price of the weaponized Ignis is kind of insane. It will cost you guys millions and millions of dollars. However, some of the features with the weaponized Ignis this might make it a consideration. First of all, it can have the HSW upgrades. It is also weaponized with this turret on top, which is surprisingly quite strong. It also does have the exact same bullet resistant windows as the Buffalo STX, which I think is really cool, and it can also have the missile lock-on jammer. Unfortunately, it is not explosive resistant, and that is really the only thing that lets this car down, apart from, of course, the price. And if I was going to be really nitpicky, the turret on top is kind of bad. You cannot just spin this thing around, and you can only shoot in front of you. Still a really solid choice, and like the Niobe, it does handle pretty similar, if not sometimes even better. We are finally getting towards the end of this section, and this is where I decided to include some really popular cars that the majority of the player base just love using. The first one will be obviously the Pariah. I just had to include this somewhere in this list. It is still completely godlike, it has that ridiculous top speed, and it handles just so smooth. But like some of the other cars we have already seen and gone through, this will suffer from not having the missile lock-on jammer or any explosive resistance. And the same is true for this final car, which will be the Emirates. In terms of strictly performance alone, the Emirates is still one of the best cars in the majority of races, but again, it definitely suffers in them full public lobbies, where you potentially have some Oppressor Mark IIs and lock-on missiles always hunting you down. Still a very solid car. I just wish that Rockstar added this with the missile lock-on jammer or even some explosive resistance. So that has now wrapped up the performance options, and the last portion of this video will be highlighting some honourable mentions, which I do think should be included. For the most part, you could probably put them in either category. Some of these ones definitely have some meta potential, whilst keeping up on the performance side. Starting things off with the honourable mentions, I do think the Duke of Death should be in here. I think this car, compared to the other honourable mentions, should definitely be pushed into the meta list, and there is one really good reason for this. It is because Rockstar did include the missile lock-on jammer very recently on the Duke of Death. So now the Duke of Death is essentially the armoured Karuma on steroids. It does have that explosive resistance, tanking 2 RPGs in total, and now it can be applied with the missile lock-on jammer, and the majority of this car is pretty well covered, so you are almost completely safe from gunfire. It is still worth mentioning that you can be shot out of the car. There is still some little slits, but then considering the fact that this is technically a free car in terms of value and its ability, this could very easily be in the meta category. The next honourable mention that I think I had to include as well will be one of the new DLC vehicles. This one is called the Rapid GTX. I do think this is another frontrunner for the meta cars. It can have the missile lock-on jammer, and for a standard car it is very fast. It will cost you guys a lot of cash. However, all of these vehicles pretty much cost you over $1 million. I did manage to pick up the Rapid GTX when it first got released, and I was completely surprised just how good this car is. It is very fast, and it can still maintain some really nice traction. I think it is a really solid option. Another new car as well will be the Sentinel GTS, which in my opinion is pretty similar to the Rapid GTX. Such a solid choice. It will have the missile lock-on jammer, and it is also incredibly fast. Just another great choice, and for this price I do think it is probably worthwhile. It is definitely a lot cheaper. You will be saving roughly $1 million getting this one, and of course it is a 4-door car. But with no explosive resistance on the Rapid GTX and the Sentinel GTS, it might put some of you guys off. These two cars will also not have any bulletproof resistance. This next honourable mention, which will be the last one, is not technically a car. However, I do think I just have to include this. It has pretty much been a tank since it was released many years ago in GTA Online. This will be the Night Shark. The Night Shark, in terms of its price and what you guys get out of it, is just so worthwhile. If you play in public sessions a lot of the time, the Night Shark is pretty much a survivor. It does not have the missile lock-on jammer, but this is one of the vehicles that does not need it, because it will have some completely ridiculous explosive resistance, tanking a load of RPGs. Now there is some downsides to the Night Shark, which I will quickly run through. The first downside is that you will need to have the windows all open like this to be able to use your normal weapons. You can apply some of these armor plating windows, however you will not be able to use the weapons on your character if you do that, so it really depends what you guys want to go for, and it is something to keep in mind if you have a Night Shark. The Night Shark as well is incredibly fast. If you have never used the Night Shark before, I think you'll be really surprised at just how easy it is to drive as well. Another really solid choice, however it's not really a car, so I just had to put this in the honourable mention. Mentions. So yeah guys, that will be all of the best cars in GTA Online 2025, including a ton of meta options, alongside some performance options and the honourable mentions. Nowadays in GTA Online, you guys are pretty much spoilt for choice in terms of cars, and there will be definitely some things that I'd missed out. For example, the Zentorno does have the missile lock on jammer, and the value of the Zentorno is just incredible. That is another one that I thought I would have included, but compared to all of the other cars, I think it maybe just narrowly misses out. And again, just like the Night Shark, which is technically not a car, another thing that could be included would be the Insurgent. Pretty similar to the Night Shark itself. Obviously it's not a car, so I can't really include it, but yeah, like I've said, I'm sure I've missed so many different ones. And if you guys have a really nice car that I did miss out and you think should be in the meta options or something, make sure to leave a comment below. And yeah guys, that will do it for this video. Let me know what you think about all of these different cars. Even let me know which one's your favorite. I think for me recently, the Coquette D5 has been my favorite, and it will probably be my favorite until that bug with the bulletproof windows gets fixed. For a really surprising option, I think the Omnis EGT did actually shock me. I was really surprised to see how good this one is, and I'm really glad I did some research on all of these vehicles because I would not have even known about this. But anyways guys, I hope you went on to enjoy this video. If you guys did, make sure to leave a like. I always do appreciate your support. And if you are new here and like what you see, subscribe and hit that bell icon to never miss a video. Finally guys, stay safe, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.